There comes a point in a man's life when the noise begins to lose its charm. The applause fades, the invitations grow fewer. The world, once bursting with motion and conversation, settles into a slower rhythm, and then comes the silence. Most men fear that silence. They rush to fill it with distractions, relationships, endless tasks, anything to avoid hearing their own thoughts. But for a rare kind of man, the silence is not a punishment. It's an invitation, a threshold, a sacred space where clarity, not chaos, begins to speak. You see, solitude has never been the enemy. In fact, it's the greatest teacher a man will ever know. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, "Nowhere can a man find a more peaceful and trouble-free retreat than in his own soul." That wasn't just poetic sentiment. It was a battle-tested truth. Because in solitude, you are stripped of roles, stripped of performance, stripped of who the world tells you to be. What remains is you, unadorned, unapologetic, and unbelievably powerful, if you dare to sit with it. This video isn't about loneliness. It's not about bitterness. It's not about giving up on love or connection. It's about understanding that before any man can love rightly, lead clearly, or live fully, he must master the art of being alone. Not temporarily, not reluctantly, but with intention. Because the man who can face himself in silence, who doesn't flinch in the absence of validation, becomes a force that can't be manipulated, shaken, or ignored. He doesn't need approval to speak. He doesn't need company to walk his path. He is grounded not in noise, but in knowing. This is not theory. This is transformation. And it is only available to the man who stops running from the stillness long enough to hear what it's trying to say. Today, we explore why the longer a man is single, not by accident, but by choice, the more dangerous he becomes. Not in anger, not in pride, but in strength, discipline, and peace. Stay with me, because if you've ever wondered whether solitude is worth it, this might be the moment that changes everything. 7 Stoic lessons forged in the fires of singleness. 1. Solitude teaches you to stop begging for approval. Most men spend their early years learning to perform. They learn to charm, to please, to win favor. They speak to be accepted, agree to be liked, and compromise to belong. But singleness, when embraced, not endured, becomes the forge that burns away this need for validation. A man who has spent time alone begins to hear a deeper question than "do they like me?" He starts asking, "do I respect myself?" And that shift, subtle yet seismic, becomes the foundation of a life built not on public applause, but on private integrity. In the words of Epictetus, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." Because the man who no longer fears being misunderstood is the man who is finally free. 2. You learn that boundaries are strength, not barriers. When you're alone, you stop making excuses for people who drain your energy. You begin to notice who adds weight to your life and who lifts it. You start building walls, not to keep love out, but to keep your peace in. Solitude teaches you that not every knock at your door deserves an answer, and not every invitation requires your presence. Boundaries, once seen as harsh, become sacred. You don't raise them to punish others, you raise them to protect the man you're becoming. 3. Emotional mastery becomes your quiet superpower. Without the noise of constant conversation or romantic entanglement, the emotions that once surged beneath the surface begin to rise. Anger, fear, longing, they all arrive, but in solitude, you learn not to run. You learn to sit with them, to breathe through them, to let them speak, but not control. Over time, a man who once reacted now reflects, and that emotional stability, it becomes visible to everyone around him. People may not know why they trust him, but they do. Because he does not shake in storms, he listens to them. 4. Focus becomes sharper than a blade. With no one else to perform for, a man finds something extraordinary. Time. Time to build, to learn, to improve. Time to stare down the parts of his life he's been avoiding. In this clarity, focus becomes a weapon. The distractions fade, the phone gets quieter, the mind gets clearer. And suddenly his goals, once clouded by comparison and confusion, come into full view. This kind of focus cannot be borrowed, taught, or faked. It is earned in the hours no one sees. 5. You stop choosing from emptiness and start choosing from wholeness. A man who is terrified of being alone will accept almost anything: companionship at the cost of his values, affection without respect, attention without alignment. But the man who has made peace with his own company begins to choose differently. He no longer chases relationships to fill a void. He builds something so solid within himself that only the right kind of woman, the kind who brings harmony, not drama, will even catch his attention. And when that man loves, it is not to complete himself, it is to share his abundance. 6. Silence begins to speak louder than words. Most men think strength is noise, loud decisions, quick reactions, constant explanation. But the Stoic man knows otherwise. He learns that silence is not absence, it is presence at its purest. A calm no carries more weight than 1,000 desperate yeses. A man who does not explain himself, does not plead, does not chase, is a man who has mastered the ancient art of holding his power without ever having to announce it. He becomes a mountain, still, quiet, unmoved. 7. The longer you're single, the more you realize you're already complete. And finally, the deepest truth of all, time spent in true solitude reveals that you were never broken, never lacking, never waiting to be completed. You are only waiting to see yourself clearly. Relationships, when they come, are no longer bandages or mirrors. They are bonuses, enhancements. You stop needing someone to come and make life beautiful. You've already planted beauty in your own garden. And when you walk into a relationship from that place, you do not arrive empty-handed. You arrive full, so full that you're free to give without losing yourself. By now, you may have started to sense something deeper rising within you. Not noise, not fire, but a quiet kind of power. A calm strength that doesn't come from control over others, but from full ownership of yourself. That's what true solitude gives you. Not just time alone, but space to strip away the noise of the world and finally hear the voice of your own soul again. Because let's be honest, many men spend their lives being told who to be. They're shaped by expectations, chased by doubt, and silenced by the fear of being alone. They move from one connection to the next, not realizing they've never truly met themselves. But the man who pauses long enough to sit in silence, who walks through the uncomfortable weight of singleness, not as a punishment, but as preparation, that man is reborn. He stops needing to be liked because he has learned to respect himself. He stops reacting in anger because he has trained his emotions like a warrior sharpens a blade. He stops chasing attention because he knows his presence is a gift, not a request. And slowly, day by day, he becomes something rare in this world. Steady, centered, whole. That is the most dangerous man. Not the loudest in the room, not the one who postures or performs, but the one who walks in silence with unwavering standards and a mind that no longer bows to impulse. He does not intimidate through force, but through discipline. He does not seek to dominate, but to lead by example. And that kind of man cannot be broken because he has already made peace with his solitude. If you're listening to this right now and you've felt that pull, that quiet call towards something deeper, don't ignore it. Follow it. You don't need to fill every silence. You don't need to fix yourself to be worthy. You simply need to return to your center and start living like the man you've always known you could become. So here's the invitation. Let solitude shape you. Let silence strengthen you. Let your standards protect you. And let your presence speak louder than your words ever could. Because the moment you stop trying to prove your worth is the moment the world begins to feel it. And if this message resonated with something in your heart, take a moment to share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear what part of your journey you're on, whether you're just starting or already walking this path with your head held high. And if you haven't yet, I invite you to subscribe to Ultimate Stoicism. This space is for men like you, men who are building themselves in quiet, disciplined ways, men who are done chasing and ready to lead. We'll keep walking this path together. Remember, the most dangerous man is not the one who shouts, but the one who listens, learns, and grows until his very presence speaks for him. Until next time, stay steady, stay grounded, and never forget, you are not alone on this journey.